September 29th, 2012, Saturday. Saturday morning was welcomed by first team. They droned their way through the week without feeling like winners. Their morale and attitudes were as low as when they were losing their first matches. The chance to redeem themselves would have to wait until after the October break, when a new round of matches would begin. Virtuoso and Midas were quick to get to their enrichment class in Japan. Dr. Noguchi was waiting for them with excitement. This was their third enrichment at Bishamon Base. "Good morning, and how are you today?" Dr. Noguchi asked the two. "We've been better," Midas said as he went on to explain their troubles. Shogun often talked about how frustrating his time with Connors was at first. Then, somewhere along the way, he figured out that his coach did have his best interest at heart. Well, in coach's class this week, we kept going over drills on how to protect each team member. We went over covering zones and wingmen and covering the man to your right or to your left, depending on the situation. And the worst part is that Olympian is my wingman. That's hard to deal with in itself. It's like learning combat all over again, Midas said with disgust. You're only a few months into your training. It's better to learn to fight as a unit now than later. I think dessert is in order before we start. What do you say, Virtuoso? Fight as a unit? Midas thought to himself. I think sugar would be a great idea. Despite our combat woes, I think I have good news on the armor front, Virtuoso said. Tell me after we snack. I don't like anything to interrupt my chocolate, Dr. Noguchi said. While treating themselves to the best that Dr. Noguchi had to offer, Midas kept thinking about what she had said. Fight as a unit, Midas thought. He thought back to all the videos they had watched of other teams fighting in the field. Something started to click. They never left one of the weaker six to fight alone. Their strategy was to crush while protecting the brain and the healer in their midst. The teams on the videos would never spread their players all over the pit. They would have been close enough to protect each other. Midas started to come out of his own thoughts when Virtuoso started to go over the new armor plans with Dr. Noguchi. Here, look at what we came up with, Virtuoso said as she handed Dr. Noguchi a memory chip. Dr. Noguchi quickly placed the chip in her main computer. What do we have here? IQ and myself, mostly IQ, came up with this substance, a superconductive crystalline metal. Its natural state is liquid, but when electrical current is applied, it becomes stronger than anything, pound for pound. IQ is already using this in large sections on a set of armor for Cyber. He's a boy at Alpha, and it worked really well. But what happens to the liquid armor if there's no current? Dr. Noguchi asked. It's not by itself. We've redesigned the nanomail to be hollow tubes, like bike inner tubes. The mail is larger and at 45-degree angles to eventually spread any impact out to the rest of the armor and not into what it's protecting. Here, Virtuoso said, pointing at a diagram. Pockets of the liquid are encased in larger tubes near the center. Out at the surface, there is 30% liquid in tubes, and near the center, 70% liquid. And the energy requirements? Dr. Noguchi asked. With the superconductive nature, it uses less than the old style. The only thing that you have to do is insulate the inside from electrical discharge, Virtuoso added. We had to do that with the old steel plates anyway. How long does this take to produce? With our lab equipment, 20 pounds a day. With Midas, as fast as we want. I am the factory where all things are built, Midas added with a smile. I have some newly designed motors and energy weapons for the Sentinels here, Dr. Noguchi said as she started explaining the plans to both the Alphas. Virtuoso was listening to her thoughts as she explained everything. This is exactly the kind of thing our powered armor guys were looking for. Would you mind if I shared these plans with them? She asked. Only if they promise to try to improve on what I have here, and then share it back with me, Dr. Noguchi said. I would think this stuff is all secret. I'm amazed you'll let someone else look at it, Midas added. Shogun checked and cleared all the lab rats at Alpha last week, Virtuoso said. Besides, Dr. Noguchi continued, if superheroes can't cooperate with superheroes, the whole idea of the HU is undone. And I love new ideas more than I love chocolate, she finished with a smile. Midas was soon replicating the ideas that were fed to him by Virtuoso. The Sentinels were armored with new robotic muscles and weapons by the end of the day. Dr. Noguchi was pleased with their progress. It took me 6 years to build the first one of these. Now, I just have propulsion, cockpit, and computers left, Dr. Noguchi said. Do we have to put more power cells in them? Midas asked the question, not knowing if what he had done was enough. One of these things could power Tokyo for a week. They have more than enough power. I'm very pleased with what we've done. Dr. Noguchi thanked the Alphas several times before they teleported back to the Australian desert. Dr. Noguchi was still going over the day's innovations when Shogun walked into engineering. I thought I might find you here, he said. Take a look at what was done today. She pointed at the 10 new sentinels standing in the new part of engineering. Why 10 instead of 6? 4 are spares. I never had the time or resources to have actual full spare sentinels sitting around. It was always parts. These things are 3 times as powerful, with energy that won't run out, and 10 times as tough. Sounds impressive. Shogun didn't have her technical expertise. Someday, they may even replace superheroes, she said with a smile. Shogun laughed. You get one of those things to fight in a city without destroying it, and I would be impressed. Not to mention how many innocent bystanders would be hurt. No, those big hitters are definitely meant to fight outside of populated areas. I know, but I'm always hopeful. During combat training, Connors could tell the Alphas were not as motivated as the week before. Each one of them was fighting below their potential, and he knew it. That's it for the day. Everyone go get cleaned up. Soak your heads while you're at it, Connors said angrily. Inferno knew the other coach was angry, and first team hadn't been the same all week. He thought it best to get his team out of the pit quickly if they were going to talk. My team has 60 seconds to get out of your harnesses and back to the dorm, he said with authority. 8th team was quick to get out of the pit. Connors looked over to Midas and said, "Put the pit back in order." He then looked up at the other Alphas that were in the stands watching and stared hard at them. "Why are you still here?" he said super loud. The Alphas in the stands were quick to leave. Midas finished putting the pit back the way it was supposed to be. First team finished putting their harnesses away and stood by as if they had something to say. "You plan on offering up an excuse for this week's poor attitude?" Connors said.